The moment happens at lunch. Cameras rolling. Plates on the table. A joke lands wrong. A word gets mispronounced. Then a hand moves forward, fingers dipping into soup where no fingers belong. Faces freeze. A second later, a hand waves inches from Lisa's face, slow and sharp, like a test. Something breaks right there. Romance drops dead in public. Lisa stands up. No shouting. No scene. She walks away. Chairs scrape. Daniel's smile fades. Control slips for the first time, and panic shows. The room feels tight. Viewers feel the shift in real time. This was not playful. This was not awkward. This was the second where fantasy lost oxygen. What started as a soft reunion turns uncomfortable fast. The tone flips. The energy hardens. Body language speaks louder than words. The affection from earlier scenes feels distant, almost staged. Respect turns into correction. Guidance turns into pressure. Love starts to feel conditional. Was this a culture clash? Or something darker wearing a polite mask? Because once someone crosses a line this early, the story already started long before the cameras caught up. That lunch scene did not arrive out of nowhere. Patterns do not form in 1 minute. Signals leak early, often quiet, often excused. And the most unsettling part comes next. This moment was only the reveal, not the beginning. Before the chaos, there was a love story sold in soft focus. Screens glowing late at night. Long voice notes. Spiritual talk. Promises wrapped in calm tones. Daniel showed up online as steady and gentle. The type who speaks slowly and sounds grounded. Devoted words. Protector energy. Someone who claims patience as a value, not a tactic. Lisa leaned into that version. She showed hope on her face every time his name came up. Open heart. No armor. She wanted security, not fireworks. And online, he gave her exactly that feeling. This franchise always sells the same dream. Distance turns people into poetry. Time zones turn gaps into mystery. Screens filter out pressure. Nobody interrupts. Nobody watches body language. Everyone edits themselves. Online affection grows fast because nothing pushes back. Words land clean. Silence feels safe. When someone says the right things every night, trust grows faster than caution. Viewers know this pattern. Fans joke about it every season, yet still fall for the setup. Love across borders always looks pure before real life touches down. Daniel spoke about values, respect, spiritual balance, a calm life. Lisa heard stability. She heard safety. The dynamic felt simple. He reassured. She believed. He promised presence. She invested emotionally. No one argued. No one corrected tone. No one enforced rules. Everything stayed soft. And when a story feels perfect early, people stop checking the seams. The first meeting carried that glow. Smiles. Physical closeness. Relief. Body language matched the words for a brief window. Viewers relaxed. The season teased another messy couple. Not a warning sign. A little awkwardness felt normal. Cultural adjustment always looks clumsy at first. Fans brushed off small moments. Tone changes felt minor. Corrections sounded like nerves. No alarm bells yet. But small things kept stacking. Subtle tension. A sharper look during language slips. A pause where patience should land. The calm voice stayed, yet something underneath started tightening. The warmth still showed up, though only in short bursts. Nothing explosive. Nothing dramatic enough to clip for social media. Easy to miss while watching casually. Because the most revealing signals rarely announce themselves. The first hours together tell the real story. Not the fights, not the breakdowns, the opening hours. That is where patterns show before anyone feels watched. Daniel wastes no time settling into the role he prefers. Small comments arrive first. Suggestions dressed as values. A raised brow at a drink. A look when Lisa vapes. A quiet note about how he prefers women to present themselves. Nothing shouted. Nothing dramatic. Calm voice. Firm posture. These moments arrive fast. Same day. Same room. Same energy. Alcohol gets framed as a concern. Vaping becomes a value issue. Appearance turns into feedback. Tone becomes something to manage. Each point lands with the same delivery. This is how things are done. This is respect. This is culture. The framing matters. He does not ask what Lisa thinks. He does not invite a conversation. He sets expectations and waits. Lisa responds softly. She listens. She nods. She adjusts. That response reads as flexibility to some viewers. To others, it reads as politeness. Either way, the exchange stays one-sided. Compliance moves forward without debate. Boundaries get tested early, and silence fills the gaps where dialogue should live. When rules show up before comfort, pay attention to who holds the script. Some fans push back on this reading. They point to cultural differences. They mention concern for health. They note that values vary across backgrounds. Those points deserve space. Cultural norms exist. Personal boundaries exist. Caring partners express preferences. The issue is not the preference. The issue is the delivery. Concern sounds like curiosity. Culture invites explanation. Respect flows both ways. Here, the pattern stays consistent. Expectations arrive complete. No room for adjustment. No space for disagreement. The calm tone masks the firmness underneath. Lisa adapts faster than Daniel adjusts. That imbalance starts small, yet it stacks quickly. Body language reinforces the message. Daniel watches closely. He corrects gently, but often. The spiritual calm remains, though the warmth flickers. Lisa appears eager to keep harmony. She laughs things off. She shrinks moments that feel uncomfortable. Many viewers recognize this instinct. Keep the peace. Avoid conflict. The relationship feels fragile, so stability becomes the priority. Speed changes everything, because pressure this early rarely slows later. By the end of the first day, the dynamic already feels set. Daniel leads. Lisa follows. Affection appears alongside correction. Approval lands after adjustment. Nothing explosive yet. Nothing clip-worthy. Still, the tone shifts enough to register subconsciously. Something tightens. Something unspoken hangs in the room. This context matters when lunch arrives. Public space. Food on the table. Language slips. Cameras close. The earlier rules and corrections do not disappear. They sharpen. The moment feels small on screen, yet heavy underneath. What happens next shocks viewers because it happens in public. What it reveals matters because the foundation was already poured. Lunch should have been neutral ground. A table. Food. Cameras rolling. Instead, it becomes the moment everything turns visible. It starts small. A pronunciation struggle. Lisa hesitates over a word. Daniel's face changes first. Not anger. Tightness. His eyes lock in. The calm softens into correction mode. His tone drops lower, firmer. The smile disappears. He interrupts. He corrects. He repeats the word back at her. Slowly. Publicly. That shift matters. Correction moves from private to performative. Lisa tries again. Nervous laughter. She is still playing along, still trying to keep it light. Then comes the moment viewers cannot forget. Daniel reaches forward and places his finger into her soup. Not to taste, not playfully, to stop her, to demonstrate, to reclaim control of the exchange. The physical boundary crosses instantly. It is small in motion, massive in meaning. Food is intimate. Touching someone's plate is personal. Doing it uninvited, in public, while correcting them, sends a message without words. That is why the reaction was so intense. Immediately after, the hand wave follows. A flick. Dismissive. Not violent, but belittling. The kind of gesture meant to silence rather than solve. In public, gestures speak louder than volume. The cameras catch it clearly. Other diners notice. The atmosphere shifts. Lisa freezes. For a beat, she says nothing. That pause is important. Silence becomes the boundary. Instead of arguing, instead of escalating, she stands. No speech. No scene. She walks away. That decision carries weight. It is not weakness. It is refusal. In moments like this, silence protects dignity better than shouting ever could. Public settings amplify everything. Control seeks witnesses. Correction seeks compliance. When it fails, tension spikes. Daniel's reaction reveals more than his words ever did. The calm fractures. His posture changes. His voice rises. Panic slips through the composure. He suddenly reaches for her. Calls out. Tries to explain. Tries to soften. Tries to reframe the moment as misunderstanding. That flip is jarring. The authority dissolves the second Lisa removes herself. Without an audience to manage and a partner to correct, his control loses its anchor. What replaces it is urgency. Fear of losing the narrative. Fear of losing her. Viewers feel it instantly. This is not about soup. It is not about language. It is about power in public and the shock of resistance. The lunch scene locks people in because it exposes the dynamic clearly, quickly, and without editing tricks. What matters next is not the outburst itself. It is what that sudden shift reveals about who Daniel is when his authority fails. The most unsettling part does not happen at the table. It happens right after. The moment Lisa removes herself, Daniel changes. Not slowly. Instantly. His voice softens. The firmness drains away. Compliments appear. Apologies follow. He reassures. He reaches emotionally now, the way he had not moments before. This timing matters. Affection does not arrive during the tension. It arrives after resistance. The warmth returns only once control slips from his hands. That sequence stays consistent. Correction first. Withdrawal second. Softness third. The order tells the story. Nothing about this moment feels reflective. There is no pause to consider impact. No space where he asks how she felt. The focus turns to repairing the situation quickly, smoothing it over, bringing her back. The affection functions like a response, not a realization. It activates when the dynamic is threatened. This is where viewers split. Some see remorse. Some see care. Some believe the camera's heightened stress. Those interpretations exist. Emotions are messy. People react poorly under pressure. Not every apology hides motive. The pattern still matters more than intention. Warmth that appears only after pushback teaches a lesson without words. It tells the other person when they will be met with kindness and when they will not. It creates a loop. Correction hurts. Distance triggers affection. Peace returns only once the relationship rebalances. Over time, people learn to avoid the discomfort by complying earlier. This does not require shouting. It does not need cruelty. It works quietly. Calm voices can carry conditions just as effectively as raised ones. Lisa responds the way many people do. She listens. She slows down. She absorbs the reassurance. The tension eases. The moment passes. From the outside, it looks resolved. From the inside, something shifts. Safety becomes conditional. Harmony depends on alignment. And conditional warmth is powerful because it feels like relief. Daniel presents the affection as care, protection, emotional maturity. On the surface, it looks supportive. Underneath, it arrives too late and leaves too early. It does not challenge the behavior that caused the rupture. It simply resets the dynamic. What makes this pattern easy to miss is its subtlety. There are no threats, no ultimatums, just emotional temperature changes. Warm when things go his way, cool when they do not. Calm always, controlled always. This is why the lunch scene lingers with viewers. Not because of a finger in soup, but because of what follows. The switch flips too cleanly, too predictably, too fast. And this was not the first time it happened. Episode 7 already carried a quieter version of the same exchange, long before lunch put it under bright lights. Episode 7 already carried the warnings, just without the shock value. The moments were quieter, easier to excuse, easier to scroll past. Language comes first. Lisa struggles with pronunciation again. This time, Daniel's irritation shows faster. His patience thins. The correction feels sharper. Less teaching, more frustration. His face tightens. The calm tone remains, but warmth fades. It is subtle, yet consistent with what later explodes at lunch. Then comes the clothing fitting scene, a culturally significant moment. Vulnerable by nature, Lisa stands exposed emotionally and physically, trusting the process, trusting him. Instead of reassurance, commentary slips in. A remark about her body. Not cruel on the surface, not loud, but unnecessary. The timing makes it land heavier. Vulnerability magnifies impact. Words said there do not float away. They stick. Lisa's reaction tells the truth. She does not argue. She does not snap. She goes quiet. Her smile falters. Her eyes shift down. That response matters more than dialogue. Hurt does not always announce itself. Often it withdraws. Viewers expecting drama miss this entirely, because reality TV trains us to watch for explosions, not silences. Insults, even mild ones, cut deeper when someone cannot protect themselves. What follows is just as important as what is said. The moment gets minimized, reframed as teasing, cultural misunderstanding, overreaction. Daniel does not sit with the discomfort. He smooths it over. The issue dissolves without resolution. Lisa accepts the explanation, even if it does not fully land. Confusion replaces clarity. Was it rude? Or am I sensitive? That question lingers. Denial works quietly. When hurt gets dismissed, people start doubting their own reactions. The relationship appears calm again, but something underneath destabilizes. Emotional footing weakens. Boundaries blur. Each unresolved moment lowers the threshold for the next one. This is why episode 7 matters so much in hindsight. It shows the same pattern in early form. Correction, discomfort, silence, minimization, reset. No accountability loop closes. Nothing actually changes. By the time episode 8 arrives, the lunch scene feels sudden only if these earlier moments were ignored. Seen together, the arc becomes clear. The show did not invent tension at the table. It revealed what had already been forming off camera and between lines. What happens next is just as telling as what happens on screen. Because once viewers started connecting these dots, the conversation shifted. The focus moved away from soup, accents, and culture and turned outward toward how the audience itself reacted to what they were watching. Once episode 8 aired, social media lit up in a way that went beyond the usual drama chatter. People weren't just joking about soup or pronunciation. They were pausing, posting, and whispering. I've been there. Comments flooded in from viewers recognizing something deeper. Quiet control, small corrections, sudden warmth, and public embarrassment. The recognition hit hard because it felt familiar. Not the chaos of fireworks or shouting matches, but the slow, almost invisible push and pull that creeps in when someone tests boundaries early in a relationship. Fans shared personal stories. My partner did the same on our first trip, one wrote. Another said, I didn't realize it at first, but looking back, the signs were there. What shocks people most is not the spectacle itself. It's seeing themselves, or someone they love, in the story. That familiarity breeds fear. When you felt subtle humiliation, rapid mood changes, or conditional affection, the screen stops being entertainment. It becomes a mirror. Recognition is powerful because it turns drama into a warning. Pattern recognition explains this. Viewers instinctively notice loops forming: idealization, correction, humiliation, repair. When the same sequence repeats, it triggers an alarm. People may not know what it is formally, but they know the feeling. It's discomfort that sticks. And it's precisely why Lisa's silence resonates. Not every viewer needs a loud confrontation to feel the stakes. Here, empathy matters. It isn't about choosing sides. It's about asking yourself, what would I do in Lisa's place? Would I confront, walk away, stay, and hope for a change? That question hooks the mind and the heart simultaneously. Viewers lean in, anxious for cues, scanning Daniel's expressions, her responses, and the subtle dynamics that signal trouble. Even while people analyze, curiosity runs alongside concern. Why does he switch from critical to affectionate so fast? Why does she stay composed while clearly hurt? The audience feels both their confusion, and the emotional pulse of the room. This duality makes the story magnetic. The commentary goes beyond reality TV fandom. It becomes social observation, almost psychological. People use their own experiences to decode behavior and imagine consequences. The episode transforms from entertainment into collective reflection. And that reflection is uncomfortable because it is recognizable. Shared recognition makes viewers question boundaries in their own lives. But here's where complexity enters. Some fans rush to defend Daniel. They cite culture, upbringing, or stress as explanations. Suddenly, it's no longer just a story about one relationship. It's a debate over context, values, and perception. The culture defense muddies the waters. It complicates how viewers judge behavior, and it raises the question, when does explanation become excuse? That tension sets the stage for what comes next. Daniel often frames his rules and corrections as matters of culture or respect. A raised eyebrow over how Lisa pronounces a word, a subtle critique about how she dresses, or instructions about behavior during meals are presented as lessons, not demands. On the surface, it reads like guidance, but the effect is far more controlling. Disagreement is framed as disrespect. Following the rules becomes proof of love or cultural understanding. Suddenly, Lisa is caught in a no-win scenario. Comply and appear dutiful. Resist and risk humiliation. This is where many viewers get tangled in debate. Some say, it's just culture. He's teaching her norms. That is fair. Every society has expectations, and cultural missteps can create tension in relationships. But here's the distinction. Cultural differences allow for discussion. You can explain, negotiate, or adjust without threatening someone's dignity. Enforcement that punishes, mocks, or corrects instantly removes choice. That is the line between learning and control. And in episode 8, that line is crossed repeatedly. Notice the small details. When Lisa hesitates with a gesture or mispronounces a word, the response is immediate, sharp, and public. Daniel's tone shifts before the first syllable leaves her mouth. That speed of correction signals something deeper than cultural education. It signals a hierarchy. Compliance first, comfort second. Observing this pattern repeatedly, before the infamous lunch scene and after, reveals a methodical shaping of behavior, disguised as respect. It's also important to acknowledge the gray area. Cultural norms are real. What looks controlling to one person can feel like structure to another. Some fans argue that Daniel's intentions were educational or protective. In theory, that's plausible. In practice, the rapid-fire enforcement, the conditional affection, and public corrections make choice nearly impossible. Culture becomes a shield, and the line between teaching and dominating blurs. Cultural explanation can confuse, but it doesn't excuse controlling behavior. For Lisa, the stakes are higher because the rules arrive instantly, in a high-pressure environment and in front of others. Public moments amplify shame, private moments amplify anxiety. Every correction teaches her that stepping out of line, even accidentally, risks humiliation. In contrast, a healthy relationship allows questions, debate, and learning curves. Respect isn't conditional on perfection. Compliance is. This is where audience reflection intensifies. Viewers are left asking, how much of what we saw is genuine culture and how much is control hidden behind cultural language? The distinction is critical because it shapes how fans interpret the entire episode. It also prompts a second, equally important question. What role does production play in framing this behavior? By presenting moments selectively, smoothing edits, and omitting certain reactions, the show can make early control seem less extreme. That editorial shaping amplifies the cultural defense and muddies accountability. Suddenly, the audience is not just judging Daniel, or even Lisa, but questioning the lens through which they are being asked to view the story. Production choices can amplify perceived cultural explanation and downplay problematic behavior. That tension sets up the next layer, where viewers, already concerned and confused, are forced to consider how much of what they see is real and how much is carefully presented for drama. TLC presents the story with rapid cuts. Scenes jump from one moment to the next, almost like flipping through channels. A raised hand, a quiet sigh, a subtle eye roll, all appear and disappear in seconds. There is rarely time to linger. Without commentary or context, the moments hit differently than they would in real life. What might feel shocking or humiliating in person is softened on screen. Viewers notice tension, but can't always place its full weight. The editing pace matters. Short clips and quick reactions create drama, but they also mask the pattern. A finger in soup, a hand wave, a quick reprimand, all seem isolated because the show doesn't dwell on them. The lack of extended reaction time reduces the apparent severity. Silence fills the gaps. Without a voiceover explaining fear or discomfort, viewers rely on their own interpretation. That ambiguity can make control appear accidental or cultural rather than intentional. Tension is real, but real-world consequences are muted. There is no sustained footage of Lisa's internal struggle, no long pause for her to process humiliation. We see pieces, but not the full emotional context. It's easy for audiences to misread intent. Moments that would feel dominating in private suddenly read as fleeting disagreements on screen. This isn't accusation. It's observation of how editorial choices shape perception. Notice how the silence works. When Lisa steps back, walks away, or stays quiet, the show rarely allows lingering shots of Daniel's immediate reactions. We see flashes of panic, but they are brief. The brevity changes the emotional rhythm. Viewers pick up that something is off, but may miss the deeper dynamic, the control cycle that repeats every interaction. The cut style also amplifies the culture defense. By showing corrections without extended explanation or commentary, moments appear as guidance rather than enforcement. A fan watching might shrug and say, maybe he's just helping her understand the rules. Yet, repeated exposure reveals a pattern that accumulates faster than anyone can notice. Editing can disguise repetition and soften early warning signs. Fans often comment on the suspenseful, fast-paced presentation, yet that very suspense can distract from the real psychological weight. Tension feels like drama rather than a systematic control pattern. Each small humiliation is framed as a beat in entertainment rather than a step in an escalating dynamic. It's not only what is shown, but also what is left out. Long glances, small hesitations, quiet discomfort, they rarely make it to the final cut. This creates an incomplete picture, leaving viewers to infer motivations and reactions. The pattern is there for careful eyes, but casual viewing can miss the red flags. Editing choices shape interpretation more than moments themselves. That brings us back to Lisa. All of these factors, the cultural framing, rapid correction, public humiliation, and the way scenes are cut, compound the difficulty of leaving. Even when she recognizes tension or control, every moment is steeped in expectation, fear, and obligation. The question becomes, what makes walking away so hard when the signals are this clear? Lisa's position is complicated, and it's easy to forget she's a person, not just a storyline. From the start, she wants to be chosen, to feel valued, to belong. That desire isn't weakness. It's human. She's been open online, vulnerable in messages, trusting in a bond that seemed reciprocal. But when she arrives in person, everything shifts. The affection she expected comes with rules, corrections, and subtle reminders that love is conditional. Fear of abandonment sits quietly in every interaction. When Daniel withdraws or reacts sharply, it triggers instinctive worry. In those moments, hesitation isn't indecision, it's survival. Mixed signals scramble perception. A smile follows a criticism. A compliment follows a correction. She cannot rely on a clear pattern, and that confusion clouds judgment. It's not denial. It's a natural response to unpredictability. Awareness doesn't equal immediate action. Lisa sees red flags, feels discomfort, and yet her internal compass is divided. Part of her wants to preserve the connection she's worked to build. Another part recognizes something is wrong. That tension is exhausting. It's a push-pull where leaving feels both necessary and impossible. We can observe, but we cannot live her split-second decisions in real time. Strength shows in quiet ways. Standing up at lunch, even without words, is a signal of boundaries. Choosing to step back, to remove herself, reflects courage under pressure. Those moments are powerful, even if editors make them appear brief. Walking away matters more than yelling or confrontation because it demonstrates agency. Lisa asserts control over her own space, even within constraints. Every action is layered with emotion, hope, fear, defiance, self-preservation. Hesitation is natural. It's not failure, it's a reaction to rapid shifts in affection and authority. Recognizing this humanizes her, moving the story beyond victim labels. We see someone grappling with conflicting desires, learning where to draw lines, testing limits, and discovering the cost of compliance versus resistance. Boundaries and small acts of defiance are meaningful signals. The early pattern of control complicates everything. Each corrective comment, each quick reprimand, each sudden affection switch builds a subtle web. The earlier these cycles appear, the more intense the internal conflict becomes. By episode 8, those patterns are no longer theoretical. They shape every decision Lisa makes. Her hesitation, her small steps of autonomy, they all tell a story of human resilience under pressure. We witness someone navigating emotional turbulence with limited tools, under public scrutiny, and framed by cultural expectations. That reality amplifies the stakes and explains why leaving is never simple. Each choice carries risk, judgment, and consequences. The real question becomes, when patterns of control appear this early, what are the consequences for the person in the middle? Early patterns matter because they reveal tendencies before habits take root. In this case, control doesn't creep in slowly, it lands within hours, on day one. There's no history of long-term stress, no months of living together, no gradual strain. What we see is immediate. Rules about drinking, appearance, tone, and behavior. That speed itself is a warning sign. When control shows up before trust has solidified, it says more about the person delivering it than the situation. These patterns are adaptive. Once established, they rarely disappear on their own. People who respond to resistance with charm, apology, or conditional affection are not suddenly kinder, they are reinforcing a cycle. The early moments where Lisa hesitates or questions and Daniel adjusts his behavior only to regain control are a rehearsal for future dynamics. Each action tests boundaries, gauges compliance, and signals what will be tolerated. From a viewer's perspective, this is recognizable. It's not about cultural misunderstanding or a one-off conflict. It's about a repeated structure that escalates quickly. By examining the lunch scene in context, the finger in the soup and the hand wave are more than rude or awkward gestures. They are a pattern of asserting dominance publicly. The immediate panic after Lisa steps away is telling. Affection isn't returning because of insight or growth, it's returning to maintain control. This early flip between correction and warmth is exactly what makes the pattern dangerous. Speed makes it efficient, subtle, and psychologically compelling. Recognizing early patterns also matters because it helps explain the emotional confusion. Lisa's hesitation, the quiet hurt, the mixed responses, these are logical reactions to unpredictable control. When love and respect appear conditional from the start, instincts are tested and boundaries blurred. The sooner this behavior is identified, the more likely someone can respond effectively rather than being trapped in a cycle that escalates over time. It's important to stress that this is not a diagnosis, it's observation. The goal is awareness. We can see the recurring loop, idealization, control, humiliation, conditional affection, and reset. The early speed of this loop sets the stage for everything that follows. The initial warning signs are the clearest indicators of the trajectory. Ignoring them doesn't make them harmless, it allows a pattern to solidify. Patterns appearing on day one are rarely innocent. When you return to the opening scene, the lunch table moment takes on new weight. It's not just a shocking interaction, it's a snapshot of the dynamic fully formed in miniature. Every glance, gesture, and shift in tone is a rehearsal for the ongoing cycle. That's why early detection matters. It is a psychological flag waving, saying something is already out of balance. The remaining question looms. If patterns show this early, and reactions are shaped by speed, conditional affection, and public pressure, where does responsibility lie? How much is on the person displaying control, and how much falls to those capturing, editing, and broadcasting it? Accountability starts with more than words. Apologies feel good in the moment, especially when paired with charm or affection, but they don't erase patterns. Real accountability requires consistency over time. It shows up in repeated respect for boundaries, in refraining from control even when frustrated or annoyed. It's not about dramatic gestures. It's about demonstrating understanding through actions. People often mistake fast apologies for change, but pattern behavior doesn't vanish overnight. In this situation, notice the difference between what Daniel says and what he does. Compliments, soft words, and reassurances arrive immediately after a perceived slip, but the cycle resumes as soon as he feels his authority is challenged. This is not evidence of care, it's a response to losing control. True accountability would look different, noticing hurt, pausing to reflect, and adjusting behavior without needing an audience or reaction. It's visible not in the heat of a confrontation, but in ordinary interactions, repeated over time. Acknowledgement matters. Naming the behavior, owning its impact, and committing to change is a start. It's one thing to say sorry, another to explain why the words were harmful and how they will be avoided next. Consistency over days and weeks, not just hours, separates accountability from performance. For a relationship to feel safe, patterns have to shift in practice, not just in explanation. Quick fixes and immediate charm reset the loop instead of breaking it. From a broader perspective, accountability extends beyond individuals. The show, editing choices, and narrative framing also influence perception. Rapid cuts, lack of commentary, and softening moments can normalize harmful dynamics or obscure responsibility. Awareness alone isn't enough if the presentation encourages viewers to root for charm over boundaries. Context matters, and how incidents are shown determines whether lessons stick or cycles repeat. Lisa's role is complex. Walking away or asserting boundaries is one form of accountability in real time. It signals what is acceptable. But lasting accountability from the other party requires more. Patterns need recognition, reflection, and modification. Without this, even public acknowledgement or audience outrage cannot correct the cycle. Consistency over time, not applause, is the true measure. This raises a question. Who bears responsibility here? Is it the person causing harm, the system that edits and broadcasts it, or both? And in this specific case, will Lisa's actions or the show itself confront the behavior directly, or will charm and drama continue to obscure the warning signs? The answers shape how viewers interpret responsibility and how future cycles might unfold. That lunch scene now reads completely differently. The finger in the soup, the hand wave, Lisa walking away, these moments weren't isolated. They were a flashpoint, the instant the pattern of control became undeniable. With the context of day one rules, conditional affection, and repeated humiliation, what looked like small missteps now shows a structured rhythm. Early control reveals the story before it's too late, and the faster it appears, the clearer the warning. Lisa's hesitation, her quiet hurt, and the courage to step back take on weight. She isn't overreacting or failing. She is navigating mixed signals and real emotional risk. The patterns we've traced, from online devotion to public correction, from apology to immediate affection, frame a cycle that escalates if unchecked. Recognizing it early matters, because speed and repetition are the indicators. The unease we felt watching episode 8 wasn't accidental, it was a signal. Even now, the calm feels tense. Silence holds more meaning than words. The stakes are rising, and the next moments promise to test boundaries even further. Public appearances, private expectations, and cultural justifications all collide, leaving viewers asking who really holds power and whether anyone can step outside the cycle. Next time, everything intensifies. The patterns either tighten or cracks finally widen, and silence may speak louder than any confrontation ever could.